Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my Week 4 predictions. I want you guys to go ahead and look at the games that I have listed here and pick which one of these three games you believe was college game day. Is it number 22 Auburn at number 11 Oklahoma? That seems like a pretty reasonable one, right? That would make sense for college game day. SEC matchup, both ranked in the top 25, both very well exceeding expectations, would make sense. How about Illinois at Indiana? Number 9 Illinois, 3-0, heading into Indiana, who was a fairy tale team last year, trying to put up the same season they put up last year. They sit at number 19. Or how about Texas Tech at Utah? Two teams that are completely fighting for the crown of the Big 12 right now. Number 17 at number 16. It makes sense if it was one of these three matchups, considering their top 25 matchups. So which of the three is it? It's none of them. Instead, they choose to take their sorry asses down to Miami, which I like Miami right now, but they're playing fucking Florida. I do not care if this is a Florida matchup. Florida is 1-2. DJ Lagway threw 5 interceptions last week. They're not a good football team. So this sets a new standard that if it's a rivalry at all, you have a shot at game day. Especially if it's a big state like Florida. If Texas plays Texas A&M week 3 and Texas is 0-3 and Texas A&M is 0-3, well shit. Who cares? Or better yet, Texas is 0-3, Texas A&M is 3-0 ranked at number 6. Let's give them college game day. I'm so fucking sick and tired of the bias. I don't mean to start off with a rant or anything, but honestly, the matchup that absolutely deserved game day was Texas Tech at Utah. Both of these teams have worked their way into this position. Texas Tech started off, I think, at number 24 and number 23. Utah started off unranked. Utah has now managed to surpass Texas Tech in the rankings, and both of these teams have just been winning games dominantly and climbing their way. It's a big matchup heading into one of the most electric stadiums and one of the most electric environments in college football. And even Auburn, Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't really been a crazy good football team in a couple years now. And now they're in the SEC and they're just getting made fun of and whatnot. Well, actually, no, that's not true. They had a pretty good team before last year. That team was all right. But now they actually look like they have a shot at the SEC championship and maybe a college football playoff in this new conference that people said they couldn't handle. And Auburn hasn't been shit since like 2019. And now they have found a quarterback who's starting to get it done. And all of a sudden, both of these teams are in the top 25. That would be a crazy environment. Illinois, Indiana. Illinois hasn't been shit in football. Indiana hasn't been shit in football. They're both ranked well within the top 25. Illinois is number 9, and they're on the road to underdog number 19, Indiana. It is going to be absolutely electric there. But no, let's head down to Miami to play Florida, who is 1-2. It doesn't make sense why they would pick that, bro. And I mean, I say bias, but like I don't even know what could have actually just made them pick this other than it's a Florida matchup, which is just, it doesn't fucking matter, bro. I think they're seriously just trying to appeal of the market of Florida teams, which would be the bias, I guess, because Indiana, after all, isn't a crazy market. Neither is Illinois. Texas Tech isn't. Utah maybe a little bit. But even then, Auburn, Oklahoma, those are probably decent. Not really. So it just like they're just trying to look at the place where they can get the most attention. With that being said, now that my rant is over, that is some bullshit that they picked Florida at Miami. I hope they don't fuck up and make a stupid decision like that again. But let's get straight into this thing. A like and subscribe, it up, a comment always helps. Texas Tech at Utah. Let's get started off with this matchup. Utah's favored by 3.5. And Texas Tech they've been playing super, super good. Obviously, they had an interesting team last year, a very inconsistent team last year. They beat ASU and they beat Iowa State at Iowa State. And they were looking like they were not like the worst thing ever, but then they would just drop some bad games. They overall finished on a bad note, taking a bad L against Arkansas. Count how many times I'll say the word bad. But they've come in here. Yeah, their non-conference has not been difficult, but they've done nothing short of dominate every team they've played. I think it's pronounced Barron. Maybe we'll just say it for the sake of the video. Behren Morton has been playing very, very well. All of the transfers and on top of that, recruits and new players coming into Texas Tech, this team was lining up for a good season. They were getting a lot of hype. I'm honestly surprised they were ranked at the bottom of the top 25. I thought they were going to be higher. But Utah, they've always been hyped up with their, the recruiting and their transfers and stuff, mainly their recruiting. And it's been their quarterback that they keep on getting ranked in the top 25, and their quarterback keeps on getting hurt, and they just collapse. And it's obviously like an embarrassment. This year, they weren't ranked, and they got transfer quarterback Devon Dampier, who I was not a supporter in, but he has so far been really good. I mean, obviously, a domination against UCLA on the road to start the year off. A very, very slow game against Wyoming. Took them a very long time to pull away, but ultimately, at the end of the day, they still dominated. Both these teams look like they have very sound defenses. It's going to come down to a matchup of the offenses. Behren Morton does seem to have an interception problem, but honestly, I think I've got the Red Raiders going on the road here and picking up a win against Utah. I have Texas Tech, since the start of the year. This is one of the football teams that I have had being the best going into this year. They just brought in so much talent. And yeah, it's like not all the time does that work, but this time it seems like it's going to work, especially when you have a quarterback like you do. The hard part is, can the quarterback transfer and continue to play at the level and whatnot and so forth. Carson Beck, a lot of people didn't think he was going to fit in well with Miami, or he just wasn't going to play good, wasn't going to work out. He's looked great. And then there's been other examples of this where a quarterback transfers and just looks like shit in their new environment. But I think with him returning, he's looked spectacular. Devon Dampier transferring, he's been extremely dual threat and been a big problem causer. I think Utah will jump out to an early start, but I just don't think they will be able to hold this game down forever. I think it'll be a low-scoring defensive matchup, but Texas Tech ends up getting it done at the end of the day. Arkansas at Memphis. This one is super interesting, and I thought I might throw it in there because Arkansas actually looks like a pretty damn good football team against Ole Miss. In a game they honestly could have won, but a fumble ended up losing them the game on a drive. They were taken down the field. They've got a great quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in college football right now, Taylon Green. He is their leading passer, obviously, and their leading rusher, which is pretty damn impressive. He has accounted for 1,000 plus yards of the entire team's overall yards. 866 passing yards, 307 rushing yards. All by himself through 3 games. That's pretty spectacular by a quarterback. Memphis, 3-0. Memphis is always like the group of 5 team that stands out to me because they've always kind of been like on the better end of the group of 5 teams. And not like a couple years ago, actually like probably 5 or 6 years ago or something like that, Memphis was, playing in a bowl game against Penn State. I think it was like New Year's 6. This team has had past programs that have been really good. They've been struggling to find that recently. The most recent time I think they were pretty good was when the Cincinnati was super good. I think they were also right up there in competition. But if they manage to pick up this win, they'll be 4-0, and I personally think that is a ticket to the top 25 right there, and maybe making your name known for the Group of 5 position in the college football playoff. But I think Arkansas is extremely underrated right now. They could have very well gone into whatever their face is, Ole Miss, and won that game. If they win this one and don't take an L, they get to host Notre Dame the week after that. Then after that, at Tennessee. After that, host Texas A&M. After that, host Auburn. They've got quite a difficult schedule. Of course, it's the SEC. But I do think this team is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. I do think Memphis will be competitive, put up some points in their home field, get some early points. But ultimately, Arkansas's offense is going to be super hard to contain, especially for a Group of 5 defense. I think Arkansas gets it done here. But keep an eye out for them. If they win this game, I think that only means Memphis is way better. That shouldn't take away from Arkansas. SMU at TCU. TCU is really underrated right now. Like, really underrated. It is kind of, they had a bye week. Wait, no, they did not. That was Notre Dame who had a bye week. Or actually, no, they did have a bye week. I'm not sure why they had a bye week so early on, but they did. And SMU at TCU. SMU, they had that game against Baylor packed up and ready to go home before they just blew it. Let them score a touchdown late in the fourth, and then they let them score on a 21-yard pass with 34 seconds left to tie the thing up, and then they couldn't win in double overtime. The thing just says null. It just doesn't tell you. It just says null. And they had that thing ready to go home. But SMU, after all, they didn't really run the ball too well. I knew they were going to be a good team passing the ball. But Baylor also tried to lose that game against SMU. They were 3 for 6 on fourth down efficiency with 2 fumbles. They had 600 yards of offense. SMU's defense is torchable. Their offense is up to standard, up to what we thought it would be. It is a high-scoring offense, but their defense is torchable. And TCU's offense, in my opinion, is on another level right now, probably better than Baylor's offense. I'm going to take TCU here big time. Their defense is also way better than Baylor's defense, in my opinion. They look like they're a pretty damn good football team. So don't sleep on TCU right now. Keep an eyeball out for TCU. I think they will get a big win here, and they should be in the top 25 after this. Auburn at Oklahoma. Did I skip a game? Okay, I thought I accidentally double-clicked there. Auburn at Oklahoma. Jackson Arnold going into his former team's stadium, who they probably hate after how bad he was at Oklahoma. And I honestly thought he was such a bad quarterback, and I did not think he was going to be able to get it done with Auburn. But so far, he has completely proved me and a lot of other people wrong. However, Oklahoma has a new stud at quarterback, and that is John Mateer. I believe I'm saying that name correctly, or I'm remembering. Yeah, John Mateer. He was from Washington State last year. He's a great quarterback. Of course, any quarterback from Washington State, it is quarterback university over there, bro. Cam Ward, John Mateer, and plenty of others throughout history. If you get a quarterback from Washington State, you best believe he's going to be good. But Jackson Arnold has been pretty good. I mean, of course, week 1 against against Baylor, they kind of just blew up their party. A lot of people were giving Baylor Big 12 championship implications, playoff implications, and what did Auburn do? They ran the ball all over Baylor. I mean, Jackson Arnold was nothing special over the air, but he ran the ball for 137 yards on the floor, as well as a bunch of other running backs and multiple carries, completely destroyed Baylor on the floor. Since then, it's kind of been Jackson Arnold's been passing the ball against pretty bad teams. You got to be able to run the ball as efficiently as you did against Baylor if you want to pick up a win here against Oklahoma. You gotta be. And I just don't think they're going to be able to. I think at first, Jackson Arnold is going to be running the ball. They're going to be pushing the sticks with big run plays and a couple pass plays here and there. But once we get to the middle of the game and teams are settled in, Auburn is going to hit a brick wall. I think they'll probably be up like 14-7 or 14-10 or something like that. And they will just hit a brick wall going forward, and they'll maybe score late in the third or something like that to make it look competitive. But I think Oklahoma's got this, and Oklahoma could very well be the best team in the SEC right now. That's not crazy to say. Tulane at Ole Miss. A lot of people are saying watch out for Tulane. They barely beat Duke. Duke is not a good football team. If Tulane wins this game against Ole Miss, that does not mean Tulane is really good. That means Ole Miss is just very overrated. And then that means Arkansas is not as good as we think, or at least as I think. I think Ole Miss should handle business here. I wouldn't be surprised if Tulane remains competitive for a long time because that's, 3-0. You've got your team with momentum. Jake Retzlaff is the quarterback from BYU last year. He is a competent quarterback. He's going to be able to get things going offensively, but ultimately, I think Ole Miss is just going to be too explosive in their home stadium. Their defense doesn't seem like the prettiest thing ever, so I will expect Tulane to compete. If they win this game, though, it's got to be Jover for Ole Miss. Michigan at Nebraska. So if you watch my Big Ten prediction video, I said Michigan would beat Oklahoma week 2, but then they would turn around and lose to Nebraska. I'm going to stick with that. Even though Oklahoma blew that up so far and beat them pretty easily, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say Nebraska picks up the win here. Nebraska, they have just been dominating. They struggled week 1 against Cincinnati. Honestly, Cincinnati should have won that game through a horrible interception. But since then, Dylan Raiola has just been torching the teams he's playing against, and sometimes that's good medicine. When you just get to destroy bad teams, you get to carry the energy that you were playing with into this game. You feel more comfortable, feel like a better version of yourself to your domination. Michigan is favored by 1.5. Just keep that pointed out. Dylan Raiola has just been great, though, for them. Bryce Underwood, New Mexico kind of struggled with. Lost pretty bad against Oklahoma, but you bounce back with the dominating win over Central Michigan. I think he will also be able to get things done. But when push comes to shove, you're in the Cornhusker Stadium. Turnovers and mistakes are going to be killer here, and I think Nebraska is going to pick up a much-needed win in this program because they haven't been good for a very long time. Florida at Miami. College game day. College game day. Bullshit. Florida, DJ Lagway, obviously getting made fun of left and right. He's got a point to prove here, but Miami has been nothing short of dominant. And I like Florida's defense. I might be giving Miami less than they deserve here. But ultimately, Miami could completely just destroy Florida. But I think Florida's going in here with an underdog mentality. They've obviously been getting made fun of left and right online. So they've got a point to prove, and they kind of don't have another choice but to prove it here. I think DJ Lagway will get off to a good start, get the offense moving, and the Florida defense will be playing good. But ultimately, it'll still not be enough to get them the win. Give me Miami, give me Carson Beck, and give me the Canes. I'm sorry, I also forgot to mention this. There's literally not another picture of Illinois' logo, and this was the best thing I could find, so it looks retarded, but Illinois at Indiana, Fernando Mendoza. I'm not gonna lie, when I was first watching this, I just realized I forgot a game. South Carolina at Missouri. I do believe Lenore Sellers is playing in that game. I will take Missouri there, though. So, you know what? Screw that. If I didn't put it in the video, I'm not going to waste my time trying to search for this. Sorry, I just missed that one. I'm doing this really late at night though, so I could just post about it later separately. But Indiana, Fernando Mendoza, they did not look good in week 1. They struggled greatly with Old Dominion, but I mean Old Dominion, they actually look like a pretty good football team. They went on the road to Virginia Tech and won 45-26. They could literally win out the rest of their schedule and be like a shockingly good team. But Indiana, was up 27-7 in the third, and then they just didn't score any points from that point on. But Fernando Mendoza, bro, he's a good-ass quarterback right now. And he's not to be understated. Indiana, since that point, has gone on to dominate all of their opponents. Illinois struggled for a while with Duke before they finally turned it on. But Duke also turned the ball over 5 times in that game. 4 fumbles, 1 interception. They also failed a 4th down conversion. So, yeah, when you hand the ball over 5 times, it's going to be kind of hard for a team like Illinois to not score points. But there is one thing that is said and true about these teams: offense. Offense, offense, offense. Illinois, if anything, would have the step here because of their defense. But I think Indiana's just going to get things moving. Obviously got the momentum in their hands with it being in their home stadium. And I'm going to take Indiana here. I like Indiana this year. I liked them sort of last year. I like them this year. Give me Indiana, high-scoring shootout, game-winning field goal. ASU at Baylor. I don't think there's very many games after this. I really want to take ASU in this one. I really do, because ASU is number 1. I think it was number 1 in the Big 12, but it could be number 1 in the country in explosive run plays. Something that we literally could have utilized against Mississippi State the whole game, but we just decided to let Sam Leavitt try and throw the ball. If we would have tried to run the ball more efficiently from the start of the Mississippi State game, we would have torched him. I mean, we had 215 yards on the floor, and we were barely even throwing the ball we were barely even running the ball in the first half. That was also not even our starting running back. He's been hurt. He should be returning in this game. Baylor's offense is obviously going to be a huge problem for ASU's defense. ASU's defense has got to absolutely shut down Sawyer Robertson, and that's going to be really hard. Baylor's offense is elite. We knew that was going to be a problem going into this year. Everybody in the Big 12 needs to be aware of that. But if ASU can run the ball super efficiently, they will score a lot of points. But I honestly think with it being at Baylor, they've got the momentum back with that big win against SMU, and this is the first conference matchup. Now wins start to really, really matter. I think Baylor's just going to be too much for our defense to handle. And when it comes down to Sam Leavitt needing to throw the ball, I'm just not too sure it's going to be too pretty. I'm going to take Baylor in a high-scoring shootout in this one, unfortunately. Sorry, ASU. I do think there is potential that we could win this game, but I just don't see it happening. ASU has not looked like the prettiest team ever. Obviously we're getting highlights with Jordan Tyson and Sam Leavitt, but that came against Texas State in a game where we still didn't look too pretty. We still didn't look anything glorious. If ASU can run the ball efficiently against Baylor, which they're going to be ready for us to run the ball, if we can run the ball efficiently, we will score a lot of points in this one. But it's going to come down to our defense being able to stop Baylor, and that's just going to be a tall task. I'm going to take Baylor in this one, and that is our last video, or our last prediction of this video. A like and subscribe and help, a comment always helps. Let me know your predictions and whatnot, or your crazy predictions down in the comments below. A like and subscribe and help, a comment always helps. That's all for me. Adios.